Hey guys, this is Mitch, and we are back to wrap up Shadowhawk Series 2, Season 2, maybe, with number 3 of the Secret Revealed series. Yes, it's all very mysterious. Except that we already revealed the secret. But, regardless, I suppose we should read it anyway. But before we do that, if you enjoy the channel, if you feel like you might want to support me a little bit as an artist, in the description you'll find links to my Patreon. And if you subscribe there, that gives you access to all of the stuff that I do. All the stuff. All the Blood Force stuff, all the YouTube stuff, everything in between. And if you go over to my Instagram, I'm dropping Inktober drawings there every day. You can DM me there for commissions. So, Shadowhawk 2. Previously in Shadowhawk 2, Shadowhawk was hunting down Hawk's Shadow, who was a copycat vigilante, only whereas Shadowhawk snaps the spines of evildoers, Hawk's Shadow kills black people. And we had a bit of a side story with Vendetta and her group, where they're being set up more as a group of goons and hired thugs that sort of protect her interests, and that she uses to go and rough up the locals who don't pay their protection money, or at least, steal from their stores. And last issue, Shadowhawk confronted Hawk's Shadow, and revealed his face and showed that he himself was indeed a black man. He was Paul Johnstone, not Livingstone, as I believe I stated in the revisit. I got that one wrong. That's okay. Who was an ex-DA, I believe, who's been on the outs. And, anyway, they had their fight, and Shadowhawk 1 did not snap his spine, presumably so that Hawk's Shadow can return some point in the future, and he can snap his spine then. We got to save some kind of story elements for later. So that really wrapped up everything that had been set up in issue 1. Not a whole lot got set up in issue 1, to be honest. But it was kind of all resolved. The only thing left over was that the chief of police has put out a hit on Shadowhawk. And he's called in some guy named Slaughter, who apparently is not going to get sued by any wrestler anytime soon. So, let's get in with this cover here. This is yet another gimmick cover. Shadowhawk's full of them. This is the world's first, not fold-out cover. I'm pretty sure that's been done before. You just call that a gatefold. This is the world's first fold-up cover. Because you see, what happens is you get the image of Shadowhawk, which is a little foily, actually, now that I look at it. And you fold it up, and oh, it's Paul. Everybody remembers Paul. And if you look at, woo, man, do those arms stretch, eh? Yeah, that's tough, because you can't really make the head any bigger. You would kind of have to, in order to make the arms actually proportionate. So it looks silly as hell. Particularly if you go like, woo, he's just so happy. Now, this is a very dashed-off cover, I gotta say. All this black in the background, for one thing. But, even the stuff that's here, there's not a ton of effort put into it, as far as I can tell. All the inks look kind of sloppy. I guess that's down on Chance Wolf. But, no, this, maybe he was trying to emulate Liefeld a little bit, because this does look a bit like the Shadowhawk number 1 from Series 1 cover. But that's pretty crappy. And they're charging $375 for this. God damn it, man. Shadowhawk comics are one of the most expensive Image comics, and it's the worst, probably. Or one of the worst. Jim Valentino is going to try to make sure that as many half-ass comics get out as possible. That's the entire Shadowline series, when we get the Pact and the others, and I don't even know what the fuck else. Anyway, getting into the credits. Cast is all the same as far as I can tell. This one's dedicated to Stan Lee. Image was big on their dedications at the beginning, from what I can remember. Todd McFarlane did a lot of it, too. Okay, so kicking things off, we got some kid running away from something. The voiceover here states how he killed somebody who screamed. I assume whilst being mugged. These are some kind of boring shots. The backgrounds look okay. There's enough detail in there. And at least he keeps all the action going left to right, so that's something. But there's not a lot of thought put into this page design. And then we flip over, And it's kind of the same thing. Actually, the perspective's all off on some of these panels. Like this one here. This one looks okay. This one looks a little bit wonky with all the silos. I guess that's what happens when you put a bunch of silos in there. And so kid's going to climb up to the roof to hide. This is like the whole beginning here, man. And luckily for him, there's an alley on the roof that is just full of graffiti. So this is a very well-used roof. And he's going to sit there and... I assume this is a guy. The face kind of looks like a girl, maybe? I'm not sure. But anyway, either way, Shadowhawk is actually creeping up behind them. And then we cut to daybreak. Now it does look more like a guy, so I guess it's supposed to be a guy. And of course, the perp has had their spinal column broken. They always say spinal column. I wish they'd switch that up a little bit. There's spine, you know, like just say the back, say the vertebrae, say the lumbar region, say the backal mass. I don't know, something, but like he keeps saying spines over and over again. Just always snaps their spinal column. It's, you know, like just like break it up a little bit. It's like he tore the backals. And now I think of it, I'd like to do a Shadowhawk parody character, I think, called Pterodactyl. I think I might be able to pull that off. Anyway, so we got the chief here, and he's giving Slaughter here. This is Slaughter with his branding, all of his no hope branding, advising that this was the work of Shadowhawk. And Slaughter seems unconvinced. I'm not sure why this gets a double page spread. I mean, nothing previous to this should have either. But they're giving Slaughter a bit of a rundown on how Shadowhawk works, what his MO is. So you'll find knuckle-sized indentations caused by those ball-bearing type brass knuckles he wears. Snaps the vertebrae in the lower back. So from that, Slaughter deduces that he's got a lot of upper body strength, and he understands anatomy. Which is, you know, yeah, okay, that's not unlikely. This is all very boring, though. So further, Slaughter deduces could have martial arts training, maybe ex-cop. But if he is, he's got pre-med training, maybe more. And he's carrying a grudge. So they're looking for somebody with that description, and the name they come up with is Christina Reed, which isn't Shadowhawk, but is Shadowhawk's girlfriend. Or would like to be, perhaps. And I believe Frake says he's been up close, heard him speak, and he's pretty sure it's a man. So they know going into it that this isn't going to be the person they're looking for, most likely. And we're getting another one of those photostated background shots. These have been popping up all throughout this series. And it's starting to get a little old. You know, he's still making sure he gets some backgrounds in there, so that's good. There is a lot of blank panel backgrounds here. I mean, you know, you get that when you do, like, worm's eye view shots. It's one of the benefits of the worm's eye view. And it's a decent shot, and it keeps him on schedule. But it's, you know, it's starting to become old hat. And we're cutting to Paul's flop house, apparently. Paul's been living a little rough ever since he lost his DA job. And it turns out Paul hasn't been sleeping since Hojo died. And Hojo's his brother, who died in issue 4 of the first series, I believe, after getting into it with the liquefier, from what I remember. And Paul apparently has a medicine cabinet full of pills. And none of this is really telling us much other than Paul's living conditions are really shitty. And he's not sleeping. And he's not really in contact with his mother, telling her that his brother Hojo died. And it seems like the only person he's really in touch with usually is Christina. Another photostated panel. At least it's not in most of the page, I guess. And Slaughter, this is the building Slaughter is in, I suppose. And he's looking for Christina. And he gets stopped in the hallway here by some Karen. Tells him that he can't smoke in here. And this is 1993, so you're allowed to have an attitude about that shit still. If you're a smoker. We don't get to do that shit anymore. We're all meek as lambs now. And Slaughter shuts her up by putting the cigarette out on her face. So she doesn't have very good reflexes at all. And she kind of runs screaming off. So that, I guess the thing that told us was that Slaughter's a dick. All right, so knocks on the door, asks if it's Christina Reed. She says, yeah, she's lifting weights. Busts in. She throws the weights at him. So it looks like she was struggling with them, but she threw those things pretty good. So maybe she was faking. And he catches them one-handed, which says enhanced to me in some way. And then shoots her in the thigh. And these layouts are a little goofy. This is a lot of Val trying to come up with tricks to make the spread look interesting. I don't know how successful it is, actually. Because this is all left to right, goes back to left, which it shouldn't. She throws left, which is more confusing. If he'd been kicking the door in that way, that would make more sense. And yeah, this is the only panel that doesn't make any sense on this page. And he's got the big, sloppy panel borders, because he's rushing everything. Nothing really detail-wise here. And just, yeah, design elements. This is an interesting thing, though, with the panel overlapping, drawing your eye. So he's still, like, you know, the tricks he's using do work. It just doesn't necessarily look great. It's good for storytelling, but not for, you know, enjoying the artwork. Which, I mean, that's kind of Val in a nutshell, isn't it? Once she's down, he shoots her again in the kneecap. We get, kind of, the bones sticking out. Although, sticking out of what exactly, I'm not for sure. Val didn't try too hard to actually make that gory. But okay, so Christina's been kneecapped, so she's going to be hobbled for the rest of her life. Good to know. And Slaughter takes her in and calls her Shadowhawk. Even though he should know by now that that's probably not Shadowhawk. Although she did throw weights at him. So that's something. And then we get a whole page for phone rings. Paul answers it, finds out Christina's at the precinct, and says, damn. And again, with a big photostated thing. So he's having trouble keeping on schedule here. I mean, he is adding more titles to Shadowline, and I'm sure he's got a lot more duties than just, you know, writer, penciler. So staying on track is probably kind of difficult. These are the kind of things you don't anticipate when you say, yeah, we're going to make comics for ourselves. And you find out it's not just sitting there and drawing comics and mailing them out. But, like, I mean, see what I mean about this getting old? This page is next to unnecessary. This could have been 2 panels up in the corner here. So, Shadowhawk is going to race among some rooftops as he do. Pretty good shot. Again, the perspective's kind of wonky, particularly when you get down here. I like this for, I assume, grabbing something to vault over. And, like, yeah, no, some of this, he's pretty good at backgrounds, I gotta say. Goes and looks down at police headquarters. Some cops see him on the rooftop and start shooting immediately. I'm not sure that that's how cops work. I would hope not. Like, fuck. Which works to Shadowhawk's plan, because if they see him, then they know that Christina can't be Shadowhawk, so they can't hold her. Theoretically, anyway. And he swan dives away. This is a panel that we're getting used to seeing. Is just the big close-up with the eyes. Again, time-saving panels. There's an awful lot. And then you get stuff like this, which is kind of labor-intensive. Like, if you've got to kind of spread it out a little bit. Although it feels like, yeah, see, if he spent a little less time on the backgrounds, and if he'd learned how to spread out the lines on the people, it's like he can't quite do that. He can't get it through his head. Or maybe it's a stand he's taking. I'm not sure. And runs away, leaping over rooftops, all this kind of stuff. And now the question is, how will they pay for her injuries? Well, I'm pretty sure you can, like, sue the fucking city. You know, she had somebody employed by the police precinct bust into her house and fucking kneecap her. Sounds like a pretty good case for a lawsuit. I mean, he's a DA, shouldn't he know that? And his condition is worsening. As far as we know at this point, his condition is just that he's super fucking tired and beat up from over the last few issues. And we get a little mini comic for the Pact here. We'll go over this in a second. So, goes up onto a roof here. Slaughter's waiting for him. Immediately reacts by throwing a batarang kind of thing at his hand, knocking the gun out of there. And Slaughter relishes the challenge and rushes in for a good scrape. There we go. And knocks the both of them off the roof. Again, boring reveal. Feels like this could have been done better. Like everything, I don't know. I mean, everything could have been done in a more cool way. Anyway, so they land on an adjacent roof. Shadowhawk gets one hit in, but it doesn't do much. Do they land on a roof? Because it looks like they just keep going past here and land in the trash. And at the bottom, Slaughter is still fine. So yeah, he does seem to have some kind of augmented abilities. And Shadowhawk is fine also, which seems unlikely since he's supposedly human. And Slaughter has Shadowhawk in his sights, ask him why he does it. Why do you go crippling criminals and stuff? And he goes, justice. And he goes, okay, well, why not kill them? You know, crippling them is a lot more complicated. And the reason apparently is so that they suffer, which is not really something that's been stated up till now. So Shadowhawk really is just kind of a psychopath. And the point here is basically that if he catches them in the act, he's justified in doing whatever he wants to do them. And this is apparently enough for Slaughter to go, you know what? You're an okay guy. I think I'll let you go. And off he wanders. So that's it for the confrontation in this issue. That's what this is leading up to. And Slaughter takes a little bit of shit from his helicopter pilot about letting the guy go. And then they speed off into the night. And the fact that Slaughter let him go kind of reinvigorates Shadowhawk's resolve that he's doing the right thing. Except for the fact that Slaughter's probably a murderer. And we get that patented, not quite cool Shadowhawk leaping pose. And a splash page where Shadowhawk is very tired. And that's it. Like, man, that's anticlimactic epilogue. I gotta say, I was expecting more out of this for some reason. Shadowhawk 3 is coming. I suppose, I don't know. I don't know if I'm even gonna do that one. This is a letdown. You know, at least up until now, I could count on Val to do something interesting with the story, do some interesting page layouts. He didn't do much of that at all in this. A little bit on that double page spread. That was kind of it. And we'll cut to the Shadowhawk gallery. We get some Keith Giffen. I have to wonder if this is repurposed art from Images of Shadowhawk. Because it looks like a bit of a panel blown up, maybe. I'm not sure what this framing thing is. It could just be a quick sketch. Now we get some Dave Gibbons of Watchmen fame. That's all right. It looks better than Val. And we get some Walter McDaniel, who, for a while there, I thought was also Scott McDaniel. The guy who did that backup for Spider-Man back in the Revenge of the Sinister Six. I didn't realize they were different guys. This looks pretty cool. Although, from what I've seen later, I don't know if this is quite indicative of his skill level. And let's see. Next month, Images of Shadowhawk debuts next month with dialogue by Alan Grant. Everything else by Keith Giffen. Let's face it, these guys brought you Lobo. They're definitely going over the top with the Hawk. Then Jim and Chance and company return in November with Shadowhawk 3, a 4-issue series that will reveal his secret origin. Okay. And if you think you've seen every possible origin story, but already think again. Okay, so we're always promising something with a Shadowhawk series. And sort of a weird collection here for the Image guys. Spawn, sure. Larson, Dragon, naturally. Cyberforce, yeah. Shadowhawk, Youngblood, Deathblow. I guess we're still a ways off from Jim picking back up on Wildcats, but, like, still. You got to assume he's going to pick it up again. Oh, we got some Bone here. Never read any Bone. He did hook up with Image, didn't he, for a while? Yep, almost forgot. There is, yeah, that was handy, a mini comic here to take a look at. So this is The Pact, which is one of Jim's attempts to do a spin-off book. Or maybe not spin-off, but, expand his line. And it's handy enough to give us the names of everybody on the cover. I mean, it's a brand new thing, so sure, but, you'd like to get it in context. That said, this thing's like 8 pages, so maybe it's just easier to get it out of the way. And we've got Slam, Blacklight, Cutlass, and Firearm, which are some pretty generic names. Only Firearm would have to become more generic, I think, because there's a DC character named Firearm released around this time. Because DC had the whole Bloodlines thing going on, which was a whole throw shit at the wall and see what sticks thing, where they introduced, I don't even know, it's dozens of new characters. I think the only one that stuck was Hitman, as far as I know, and that was a fucking joke. But you had Garth Ennis writing it, and it actually turned out to be quite a good comic. That's my favorite Garth Ennis comic, I think. So he couldn't be called Firearm anymore. In the comic, he's going to be called Gun. But you can't just call him Gun, because that's fucking stupid. So it's Gun with 2 N's. And we get a Jim Valentino composition here for the cover, so nothing special. It is kind of Liefeldy, actually, in some ways. It's just, kind of a dumbed-down Liefeld. But, everybody's screaming. You get your speed lines. There's this ridiculous pose, which is pretty familiar. This is a pretty ridiculous pose. Like, if you cut back to, 2 seconds later, she's falling on her face. There are some suspicious light sources. So that's always a good sign. I think the only thing here that really doesn't fit is the fact that they all make sense in relation to each other. You can't have that on a Liefeld cover. Okay, so this is some sort of installation where superhumans are being sent out on assignment. So this is Slam and Blacklight. Blacklight is apparently an old school superhero, while Slam is a brand new guy. And he's read about Slam's exploits. I don't know if an old school superhero goes with a handlebar mustache, but he's apparently a character from the 60s. That looks a bit more 70s to me, but that's okay. I mean, Jim would know the difference better than me, to be honest. So the characters are going to go after are Cutlass and Firearm, who are just kind of sitting in a park, by the looks of it. And this art isn't bad. I have to say, I don't think this is the same artist that takes over the book when it does come out. This says it's penciled by somebody named Waz. Penciled and inked. And I mean, you can see some of the stuff here. Like, this is pretty good stuff, because they get jumped, Cutlass and Gun in the park get jumped by Blacklight and Slam. But I like everything going on here. It's nice lighting. And Slam does a flip over Gun here. Cutlass takes a swing at Blacklight. Get a gratuitous ass shot. That's always welcome. We see that Firearm or Gun is very good with guns or firearms. Cutlass is able to apparently start slitting Blacklight's throat, so that's getting graphic pretty quick. I think that's just sort of supposed to be like a flesh wound. And Blacklight and Slam have been told they're bringing in rogue operatives from this academy they're from. And it turns out they're actually escaping from the academy because they've been breeding super assassins. And Blacklight apparently can sort of tell if somebody's lying. And cool shot. All of this is pretty good. And turns out they're not. And that's all it takes. See, he thought he was training Youngblood recruits. And instead he's been training hired killers. So what they're going to do is they're going to form a pact. And let the academy beware. And that's what the pact is. But all this art's pretty good. I don't think this is the guy who does the actual series. The guy who does the series is Walter McDaniel, who would go on to be pretty good. I don't think this is him here. I'll be honest, at first I thought the packed artwork in the comic was pretty bad. Probably largely because of this cover. Your all-white background doesn't help. But, and the interior definitely has some bad stuff. You know, like, there's okay stuff, there's bad stuff. But, like, it's interesting. Some aspects of it seem almost like somebody who came up in Outlaw comics. Maybe that'd be worth looking at one day. But yeah, that's the Pact. Maybe not the worst looking thing. Dumb as fucking dirt, though. I guess Jim probably wrote this. Yep. Yeah, so as far as I understand it, I have all 3 issues of the Pact. And it didn't go any further than that. Oh, watch that fucking cover. Anyway, that's it for Shadowhawk number 2. Series 2. Number 3. 3 of 2? 2.3. Yeah. That kind of sucked. Number 1 wasn't bad. Number 2 got disappointing. Number 3 was pointless. While the point of number 3 was to set up a Renegades series. Oh wait, no, Renegades is Vendetta's group. This group, well, here it's just Slaughter. So Slaughter, Database, and Cover-Up, which are generic G.I. Joe sounding names. How many of these actually made it to press? From what I recall, that one, no. That one, maybe. Don't think so, and yes. Betting 500's theoretically good. But yeah, this was badly plotted. I mean, what did we get for the Hawk Shadow thing? Issue 1, they just introduced that there's a guy named Hawk Shadow. And issue 2, we eliminated the Hawk Shadow threat and revealed Shadowhawk's identity. Issue 1 should have been more build-up. Well, 1 and 2 should have been the build-up for Hawk Shadow. Like, we heard that he'd killed some people, and we saw him kill... Yeah, we saw him kill one person. But there should have been more, and making it more personal for Shadowhawk. Like, he failed to take him in one time or something. Well, not take him in, you know, break his spine. But, potato. And instead, yeah, he kind of shot his load all in issue 2, and then spent issue 3 just introducing this other character nobody's ever going to give a shit about, and is never going to actually have a series. So, yeah, that blows. And not only that, he rushed through the art. It feels like an afterthought of a series. Not really what I expected from Jim, I gotta say. But for this one anyway, that's going to be it. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when the next thing's coming out. Follow the links to my Patreon, subscribe there. That'll give you access to everything I do. All the Blood Force stuff, the pages, and the finished comics. As well as these videos before they make it to YouTube, usually a week or so in advance. And all the videos that don't make it to YouTube. There's a few of those. After that, go over to my Instagram and check out all the pretty pictures there I'm putting up for Inktober. And while you're at it, DM me for some commissions. And I will draw those commissions. Because it beats talking about fucking Shadowhawk. Holy shit. Anyway. Thanks again for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.